My name's David Farmer, my company's Ad Giants, and I'm your new beta client.
What made you go into this type of business?
It's weird that I ended up in advertising because it was something I never had on my radar. You know, we all go to school and stuff, and I just really happened into it. And it was so many years ago that the business has changed dramatically since 1980, obviously. But I got in it, and it was a craft. I realized it was like a trade in a way. You had to learn the craft of making advertising, whether it's print ads or television or radio, all those different things. You had to understand the sequence of how to produce and how to make that stuff. I went into it as an art director. So as an art director, my job was the visual components of all the marketing. That means I was responsible for not just coming up with the ideas, but the execution of it. Writers, you know, they can write stuff and it can be funny and clever and all that, but then they kind of hand you the ball as the art director and say, now make it look great and make it work. So I hired photographers, directors, illustrators. That was my job. And as part of my job, I had to make sure that I was, you know, really up on the times, what things were going through, because just like any other art form, it'll go through phases and trends, not with just fonts and colors, but just artistic styles of photography, different ways of shooting film, all those kinds of things. You had to kind of be up on that. It was really fun because it was cool because to go to the movies was a tax write-off. You know, I had to stay up on all the different things and tactics that were being used in the film industry and photography industry. So I had to know all those things. And consequently, all my best friends in advertising weren't the people I worked with every day. They ended up being people like Ty. They were photographers, musicians, jingle writers, the guys that I actually worked with to produce the work, and ended up being my really good friends. And that's what kept it really, really interesting for me, was that constant creativity, the constant stimulation of working with different creative minds. Because when I'd have an idea, it'd be in my head, but then I'd go get a photographer or a director, and I'd expect them to take the ball and plus it up. I mean, using your eye now, I looked at your portfolio, I looked at your style. I want you to take my idea and what would you do with it at this point?
How long have you been in business?
Well, I'm going to date myself here, but it's been over 40 years since 1980 when I started. And obviously it's changed dramatically. I think the first computer was put on my desk in 1989, I think was the first computer. And I remember when email was a big deal. You know? So obviously you've seen a ton of change in the industry, you know, and it's migrated now to where we are all bombarded with so much stuff that you have to just go way outside the boundaries to be noticed anymore. So the mediums have all changed, obviously with digital and with all the social media. But it's interesting because it challenges you as a creative person, whether you're a photographer or a director or a creative person, an art director or a writer. You have to think to the medium now. It used to be come up with the idea, now you have to think medium first. How am I going to grab their attention, and what is that vehicle to do that? And then you kind of reverse engineer out the creative. But yeah, I've been doing it a long time.
How many people work for your company? What service or product does your business provide?
So Ad Giants, when I started it in 2001, the original idea that I had for the company, we couldn't pull it off. And the reason was, back then in 2001, people wouldn't even put their credit card online. The idea that I had for the company is actually what I'm doing today. We had to wait for the business climate to catch up to the idea, which is a subscription service virtual agency in the cloud. Now you think about telling someone about the cloud in 2001, they didn't know what you're talking about. So, you know, no one felt secure enough to put credit cards online until probably the, you know, late 2000s, you know. So that was a big hurdle. So what we did is we stepped back and we said, okay, how can I learn? I've never run a company before. I've never had, you know, people working for me that I hired. I've always worked for big ad agencies and ran people that worked there, but I've never started my own business. So I had to learn how to hire, fire, you know, get people motivated, set goals, achieve them, answer to investors, because when I went out to build my company, I built a marketing technology company. So the first version of Ad Giants was actually an ad tech company. So we developed a piece of technology that would allow the corporate office to put all of their technology in it, and then the franchisees would log in and we could control what they touched, what they did to it, and then we had visibility to them. But at the same time, you had to understand what their needs were so they felt like they were not being stifled, but they were getting what they wanted out of the system. So you had two masters that you had to serve there, so to speak. So for the first 15 years of Ad Giants, that's what we did.
How does your customer usually find out about your business?
Right, so, obviously we're a marketing company, so you would think we'd just be geniuses at how to go get customers. But even with us, that's different, that's unique, because the environment's different today. We didn't want to go spend millions of dollars to start running television commercials on the golf channel saying, hey, we're Ad Giants, you have a small business, come to us. There's a lot of waste in that. There's not a lot of efficiency in that methodology. So what we do personally is we just go straight to the customer. If I go to a chamber, I know that the company's established in that community, they're paying $1,000 to join the chamber, so I know they've got budget, and they tend to have come from backgrounds where they have experience. So what we do is we go into chambers of commerce and we say, hey, Mr. Chamber, you've got 1,000 members. How are you doing your marketing? How are you getting your membership? And we typically find that's a soft spot for them. They're like, well, it's really hard. We have a lot of attrition now because of the pandemic and people are quitting and blah, blah, blah. And chambers have had to go through a lot of change lately to get their membership up. But that's their lifeblood. So what we say is, I'll tell you what, if you will promote us out to your 1,000 members, we'll become your ad agency of record. We'll rebuild your website. We'll come up with ideas how you can get membership. We'll rebrand you. We'll do all those things for free. All your email, your newsletters, all that for free. In exchange, you just go tell your 1,000 sheep underneath your flock that they need to try Ad Giants. So it's a real win-win.
What are some ways you're currently using multimedia with your company?
When it comes to multimedia, obviously being an ad agency, we sell a lot of it to our customers. It's important to them. It's vital to getting their message out. But for us to market ourselves, it's also important. So video is just the fastest way to do it. And it kind of aligns with now how people won't even read. I mean, I don't know what it's younger generation. I never like to read anyway either. But I came from a world of long copy ads and all that. And now you can't get people to read 3 sentences in an ad. It has to be video. And data supports that 100%. So it's only going to get more like that as time goes on, the critical nature for video.
What are some of the ways you feel content can help grow your business?
I think video moving forward is going to go through sort of a renaissance from higher production values, but to, I don't want to say lower production values, but more approachable. People can smell slickness, and that's why even if you look at just the influencers that are out there, when influencers first came out, it was very real. I mean, it was people holding their phone up, putting it on a tripod, talking to it, the lighting wasn't good. And now it's really funny how much Hollywood is poured into influencers because of the tools that are out there online for editing and making it easier for the average person to understand how to edit things and templates and things like that. The Hollywood has come pouring back in, but you have to understand what that did to the messaging. It makes people not believe it. If people think they know so much about something, they tend to not buy it so quickly. If it's something they're kind of scary or leery or don't think they understand, that's why when you focus your message about your value to your potential customers, saying, I've done this a lot, my videos get seen more than anybody, I drive more conversion rates than anybody because I understand messaging better and I understand how to capture a message better. That's the key. Next, we're going to talk about the good stuff. Talk about budgets, how to get your clients to spend money with you, how to get them to hire you. But to do that, you got to be a gold member. Do it.